You reached for the avocado oil, not the cheap vegetable oil, not the canola, the avocado oil, the one that costs 3 times as much because you know what is in it, where it came from, and what it does for your body. You made the right choice. That is the entire point of paying more. Here is what the University of California, Davis found when they actually tested what is inside that bottle. At least 82% of avocado oil sold in the United States is either rancid before its expiration date, adulterated with cheaper oils, or both. In 3 specific cases, bottles labeled as pure or extra virgin avocado oil contained near 100% soybean oil. Not a trace of avocado. The same soybean oil used in cheap processed foods, inside a premium bottle, at a premium price, sitting on a shelf at major national retailers. The researcher who led that study has spent years analyzing cooking oil fraud. Her name is Selena Wang. She is a professor at UC Davis with decades of experience in food science. When she saw those results, she said, and I'm quoting her directly, "I was surprised some of the samples did not contain any avocado oil at all." If a food scientist who has spent her career studying oil adulteration was surprised, you should be too. Let me put a number on what this means for you personally. Avocado oil experienced an 825% surge in made with avocado oil packaging claims between 2019 and 2023. That is not a typo. 825%. Every chip brand, every mayo, every cooking spray that wanted to signal health and premium quality to your demographic added those 4 words to the front of the packaging. And behind many of those packaging claims, according to the independent testing, was a bottle of refined soybean or sunflower oil that costs a fraction of what you paid. A 2024 Washington Post investigation purchased avocado oils from major national retailers and sent them to an independent laboratory. Of the 29 refined avocado oils tested, 19 were adulterated. That is 65%. The adulteration was with soybean oil, canola oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil, oils that are cheap to produce, odorless, colorless, and completely undetectable to the human eye, nose, or tongue without laboratory equipment. You cannot taste the difference. You cannot see the difference. The only way to know is to test it. And the FDA, as of this recording, has no enforceable quality standard for avocado oil in the United States. Here is why this matters beyond the money. Avocado oil has a documented nutritional profile, high in oleic acid, the same monounsaturated fat that gives olive oil its cardiovascular benefit, rich in carotenoids and vitamin E, high smoke point that makes it genuinely more stable for high-heat cooking than many alternatives. These are real, measurable attributes supported by real research. When you choose avocado oil, you are choosing it for those attributes. Soybean oil has a different nutritional profile, high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fats, different fatty acid composition, different antioxidant content, different stability under heat. If your bottle contains soybean oil instead of avocado oil, you are not getting the nutritional benefit you paid for. You are not getting the heat stability you were promised. You are getting a commodity oil in a premium bottle. The health reason you paid more does not exist in your bottle if the oil in it is not actually avocado oil. The question that follows naturally is how this is legal. The answer involves an enforcement gap specific to avocado oil that distinguishes it sharply from the oils we have covered in prior episodes. For most major cooking oils in the United States, the FDA maintains identity standards. These define what the oil must contain and in what proportions to be sold under its name. They are not perfect, but they exist. If a manufacturer labels a product as extra virgin olive oil in California, there is a specific state standard it must meet, with testing requirements to back it up. California created that standard directly in response to UC Davis research on olive oil quality more than a decade ago. Avocado oil has no equivalent federal standard. The FDA acknowledges that avocado oil is a high-value oil frequently targeted for what the agency calls economically motivated adulteration. The agency has stated that standards are needed. Selena Wang at UC Davis has been actively working with the U.S. delegation to Codex Alimentarius, the international food standards body, to develop chemical markers that allow testing for avocado oil purity. The Codex Alimentarius Commission adopted new quality guidelines for avocado oil in November 2024. Those guidelines are an international reference. In the United States, they are not yet legally enforceable. The result is a product category where the incentive to commit fraud is extremely high, the difficulty of detection is extremely high, and the regulatory consequence is effectively zero. Here is the forensic detail that most coverage of this topic skips entirely, and it is the detail that gives you something real to work with. The reason avocado oil adulteration is so difficult to detect comes down to refining. Cold-pressed or unrefined avocado oil has a distinctive green color from chlorophyll and carotenoids and a mild grassy flavor. Refined avocado oil, the most common format sold in U.S. supermarkets, has had those compounds removed by heat and chemical processing. The result is a pale yellow or almost colorless oil with a neutral flavor. Refined sunflower oil and refined soybean oil are also pale, colorless, and neutral. Once all three are refined, they are virtually indistinguishable without chemical analysis. The markers that laboratory testing uses to detect adulteration are specific to the fatty acid and sterol profile of authentic avocado oil. Avocado oil naturally contains high levels of palmitoleic acid. If that marker is low and accompanied by elevated levels of specific sterols such as delta-7 stigmastenol, that is a signature of adulteration, typically with sunflower or safflower oil. Elevated brassicasterol indicates canola oil. These are chemical fingerprints visible only under laboratory conditions. They are invisible in your kitchen. The 2024 Washington Post investigation used exactly this kind of chemical testing. Results showed adulteration ranging from minor blending to near total substitution. In the worst cases, the oil being sold as avocado oil had virtually no avocado-derived compounds at all. Here's the detail that reframes everything. The same retailers selling adulterated avocado oil under their own private label brands are aware that their supplier's documentation says the oil is pure. The fraud happens upstream at the supplier or importer level before the oil reaches the retailer. When a major grocery chain sources avocado oil, they typically rely on the supplier's certificate of analysis. That certificate is supposed to confirm purity. It can be falsified, or the supplier themselves may be receiving adulterated oil from further up the supply chain without knowing it. This means the store you trust is selling you a fraudulent product. But the store may not know it is fraudulent. The importer may not know it is fraudulent. The fraud may have occurred 2 or 3 steps back in a global supply chain where avocado oil passes through multiple hands from Mexico or Chile to your pantry. This is not a contamination problem inherent to a packaging format. This is a criminal supply chain problem in a product category with no enforcement mechanism. The consumer at the end of that chain, you, is the only person who is definitely not committing fraud. You are also the only person in the system who has no way to verify what you bought. I want to be precise about the scale of this problem because the numbers in this episode are more extreme than anything I have covered in this series. 82%. That is the UC Davis finding. Of every 5 bottles of avocado oil on a shelf in the United States, 4 are either adulterated, rancid before their expiration date, or both. A follow-up study focused on private label oils from major retailers found only 31% were pure and met their advertised quality. In 3 documented cases from the UC Davis research, bottles marketed as pure or extra virgin avocado oil contained near 100% soybean oil. The price premium you paid for a health benefit you specifically chose was extracted from you for a product that contains almost none of the ingredient on the label. The FDA knows. Selena Wang at UC Davis knows. The Codex Alimentarius Commission knows. Standards are being developed. Research is ongoing. The international framework adopted in November 2024 is a step forward. None of that protects you today at the store buying a bottle of avocado oil that has no enforceable purity requirement in the United States. There are 4 specific things you can do right now that meaningfully reduce your exposure to avocado oil fraud, and none of them require a laboratory. The first is color. Genuine cold-pressed or extra virgin avocado oil is green, not slightly greenish. Green, from the chlorophyll and carotenoids that distinguish it from refined oils. If you open a bottle labeled extra virgin or cold-pressed avocado oil and the oil is pale yellow, colorless, or golden, that is a red flag. It does not confirm adulteration, but it means the oil has either been heavily refined beyond what extra virgin should be, or it is not what it claims to be. The second is price. The UC Davis research found that lower-priced oils were more likely to be adulterated because fraudulent products have lower production costs and can undercut honest producers while still generating profit. A suspiciously low price for a premium product is a meaningful signal. This does not mean expensive oils are guaranteed pure. The Washington Post testing included premium-priced oils that failed, but price is a real filter. The third is certification. A small number of producers submit their avocado oil for independent third-party testing and publish the results. Look for oils that specifically advertise independent laboratory verification of purity, not just quality claims on the label. The label is marketing. The laboratory result is data. The fourth is format. Unrefined or cold-pressed avocado oil, the green variety, is harder to adulterate convincingly because its color and flavor are distinctive markers of authenticity. If you have no way to verify purity through certification, choosing an oil that is visibly green with a mild, grassy flavor is the highest confidence option available without sending your bottle to a lab. Here is the piece of this story that changes how you think about every premium ingredient on your grocery shelf, not just avocado oil. Selena Wang said something in a 2026 interview about food fraud broadly that I want to share with you. She said, "Food fraud happens when something has high value and it is globally traded. That is where things can happen, as it is easy to lose track of the traceability and transparency of products." This is the operating principle behind every episode of food fraud that makes the news. Honey, saffron, maple syrup, seafood, ground coffee, olive oil, and now avocado oil. A product gains a reputation for health benefit, consumer demand rises, price rises, and the gap between the cost of the real product and the cost of a convincing substitute becomes a business opportunity in a supply chain where enforcement is absent. The consumer paying for authenticity is the last person in the chain, and the only person with no way to verify what they received. Standards and enforcement exist to solve it. They are being built. They are just not finished yet. You reached for the avocado oil again. Same bottle, same kitchen. This time you flip it over, you check the color against the light, you look for a third-party certification mark, you check the price against what you know a genuine product should cost. 5 seconds you have never taken before. That check does not guarantee you are holding the real thing. What it does is move you from being the last person in a fraudulent supply chain with no information to being the last person in the chain who is asking the right questions. That is what this channel exists to do. Take the ingredient you thought you understood, show you what the published evidence says about it, and give you the question the label was never going to ask for you. If you want the next one, subscribing is how you get it. I will see you in the next